Hey teaheads, this is Don from Mayleaf. In this video, how to make people fall in love with tea. In this video, I'm going to be giving you my tips on how you can be converting your friends and family into teaheads. This video is going to go onto the Tea Masterclasses playlist. If at any point in time you enjoy this video, please give the video the thumbs up. The more thumbs in the air, the more tea videos are going to come your way. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, then go click that button. At the end of every single video I make, I implore you to spread the word about True Tea. And many people ask me how they can go about doing this. Well, it's coming up to Christmas. I'm filming this in December 2016. So it's a perfect opportunity as you gather friends and family together to try and convert some of them to tea. If you're watching after Christmas, then these tips will still apply. And it's not just about spreading the passion about tea, but it's really also about gathering partners in crime that you can share tea with, that you can have sessions with, where people can introduce you to more tea, everyone can bring out their stash and enjoy tea together. So I've been in the tea business for over 13, 14 years now. I've picked up some little tips along the way and I want to share 6 of them with you. So let's get started. Okay, so tip number 1 is choose a tea that you are passionate about. Most people, when they're trying to convert someone to tea, they're trying to second guess what that person might like. Maybe they're a coffee drinker, so you're thinking, I'm gonna give them a dark roasted tea. Or maybe they currently drink flavored teas, artificially flavored teas, and you're thinking, oh, I'm gonna give them a gateway tea by introducing them to a fine jasmine tea. But in my experience, the best way to convert people is with your passion. So pick a tea that you are passionate about, because it's your passion and your excitement that's going to pique their interest. They're going to find that really engaging. That's what's going to draw them in. So pick a tea that you're passionate about. So for example, I have here a Milan Siang Dansong. This is Royal Peach Orchid. And this is one of my favorite teas, and I think it's a great tea as an introduction tea because I love it. If you've not heard about this tea or you're interested about tea, I'll put a link about this tea in the description below, and maybe a little card will pop up here if you're watching on YouTube. So I'm gonna brew this tea and try to brew whilst talking to you. So pick a tea that you are passionate about. Okay, the second tip that I have for you is express your passion for tea, but don't talk about flavor. So there are many things in tea that we all love. So you may love the aesthetics of the brewing process. You may love the aesthetics of the teaware. You may love the story or the history of tea. You may love the history of the actual tea that you're preparing for them. So you may swat up and learn a little bit about what makes this leaf so special, how it was processed, where it was grown, and give them the whole story and the artisanal basis of tea, of the leaf that you're introducing them to. Maybe you're particularly excited about the health benefits or the functional aspects of tea, and you want to express that to them. So, you know, you need to express your passion. You need to tell people why you love tea so much. But what I would advise you not to do is talk too much about the flavor of the tea that you're introducing to them, because tasting is personal. And if you start to impose too much of your thoughts about it, you start to take away the interactivity of the tea tasting process, and you start to take away the potential enjoyment that your guest, friend, or family might get out of the tea. So it's all about trying to hold back. Don't talk too much about flavor until later. Okay, the third tip is brew Gong Fu style. You all know by now, or you should know by now, how much I love Gong Fu brewing. If you haven't seen any of the videos on Gong Fu brewing, again, maybe a little card will pop up somewhere here, and I'll put a link in the description below to a video about Gong Fu brewing. But Gong Fu brewing, hands down, for the majority of teas, I know there are exceptions, but for the majority of teas, Gong Fu brewing is the best way to taste tea. And if you're going to try and convert people to tea, then you need to give them the best tasting tea that you can possibly brew. It needs to start off on a high. You can't give them some, you know, slightly weak Western brewed Western style brewed tea because it's just not going to have the same impact. So brew Gong Fu style. And many people ask me, well, how do you brew Gong Fu style in a group? And the simple answer to that is keep brewing in small teaware like this, so exactly the same as if you were brewing by yourself or with 1 or 2 people, and mix up infusions. So brew 1 and 2 infusions, put them together and then serve. So for example, if I'm infusing this Milanxiang Dansong, this is probably about a 15-second brew, I would not go and pick up a big pot and because you're more likely, if you pick up a big pot, to put less leaf in, to get the ratios not quite right, because you don't want to use up too much of your precious leaf. So keep it small and infuse the tea a couple of times. So basically, one of these pots is 180 ml. You will fill up with one of these pots 5 of these cups. So if you do 2 brews and mix them together, then that gives you 10 cups of tea, which is usually, you know, pretty good depending on how big your social situation is. But again, just mix up your infusions. It means you're going to get less rounds of tea out of it, but what you'll get is really, really high quality flavored tea without you using too much leaf. If you have one of these, a connoisseur tea brewer, then again, fill it with leaf, put the water in, allow it to brew, push the button, decant the tea, and immediately just go and put more water in there and brew the second infusion, push the button so that the second infusion comes out, and you will have a good nearly 500, about 450 ml of tea, which will happily serve 10 people, and they're getting the best tasting tea. So always brew Gong Fu style. Okay, let me taste some of this tea. Make sure I'm in focus and have some of this tea. So this is a Milanxiang Dansong, one of my favorite teas. Okay, the 4th tip is indulge their senses. This is really, really important. If you go off to the kitchen and you make some tea, even if you make it Gong Fu style, and you walk out with a cup and you go, here you go, here you go, here you go, and you pass it round and everyone gets a sip of tea, they're not gonna get the whole experience of tea. And you know that the experience of tea is not just about simply smelling, looking and tasting the liquor. It's about the whole process. This is why Gong Fu brewing, another reason why Gong Fu brewing is so great in this situation. And if you have a Gong Fu guru or you have something like this, a water tray, bring it out, bring it onto the table. Get yourself a thermos so you're not running back and forth to the kitchen. You know, get yourself a good thermos that keeps the water to temperature, and make tea the center point. Make tea the center of the table, the centerpiece of the table, so that people can look at you brewing, people can see the process, because you don't know what might hook that person in. You don't know what might excite that person. It might not be initially the flavor, but it might be all the teaware, it might be the way that you brew. They may ask you why you're rinsing the tea, all of those things. If you do it in hiding in your kitchen, you're going to lose all of that. Similarly, having the leaf in front of them is so important. The dry leaf, the wet leaf, getting them to stick their nose in the pot or the gaiwan is so important, because you're adding more and more richness to the experience. You're adding more richness to the information, the sensory information that they're getting out of it. Looking at the leaf, smelling the leaf, looking at how the leaf unfurls, how it opens, examining the leaf afterwards. So bring the tea out, make it a centerpiece, put it in the middle of the table. That's why these Gong Fu gurus are so great. Okay, so the 5th tip is make the tasting experience an active one. What you don't want to do is tell people what you think this tea tastes like, give it to them, because it's a very passive thing. I'm going to say to you, okay, this Dansong, this tastes like peach, it tastes like honey, and it tastes like orchid. You drink it, yeah, I get those things, great. You've taken away so much of the pleasure and personal experience of tea, because taste and aroma is personal. It's hardwired to your memory, to your experiences. So if you start talking too much about flavor at the beginning, you're taking away the personal experience. Instead, what you should do is give them the leaf, ask them to smell it, try to engage their senses, try to engage them in an active process, get them to smell, get them to try to describe. Now, a lot of people find this quite difficult. There's a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is that they feel a bit uncomfortable. They think that there are right or wrong answers, and they think, oh, if I say it smells of flowers when this tea is meant to be fruity, then I've got it wrong. So a lot of people have that approach, and so it's important that you tell them that there are no right or wrong answers, that tasting and smelling is a personal experience, and it's about finding their personal connection with this tea. The second reason why people don't like to express too much the tasting is because simply they haven't trained themselves to kind of make links between a smell and an object or a memory. So, you know, it takes a while for them to get into it. So what they'll tend to do is stick their nose in, and they may say something like, oh, it smells a little bit woody. And that's great. So that's a starting point. Then what you should do is try to push them, make it an active process. Try to push them, say, what kind of wood? Is it dry wood? Is it like dry balsa wood? Or is it like wet wood, you know, that's rotting in a forest? Or is it freshly cut sawn wood? You know, try to push them a little bit to focus on the next layer of detail. So woody is a good start, but then move to the next layer of detail. Up on the screen right now, I will put our tasting wheel. So you can see in the middle of the tasting wheel, you have the more basic and generalized descriptions. And then as you move out, it becomes a little bit more detailed. And this is a great way to encourage people to explore further. After they've given you their tasting notes, that's when you can step in and finally you can tell them what you taste too, and hopefully the conversation can move forward from there. But you need to make sure that the tasting experience is an active process. Engage their mind, engage their memory. Ask them to open their mind, ask them to free their mind. Say, listen, just stick your nose in and tell me what emotions or what memories this evokes for you. And you'll be amazed at what comes out. A lot of people will start to go back into their childhood and say, oh, this reminds me of my grandmother's farm, or, you know, my old house, the cellar of my old house, or whatever it may be. Smell and taste is hardwired to memory. So if you can engage that memory, if you can make them remember something that is emotional to them, then they're going to start to have an affinity and a connection with the tea, and they'll come back to it. If you come straight out and say this is a peachy tea that has honey notes, you've taken away all that pleasure. So make the tasting process an active one. The sixth and final tip for you is give them tools to learn. If you've been successful at piquing their interest, you'll notice a little glint in their eye as they ask questions about tea, and you can see that you've started to ignite a passion for true tea. But this is just the beginning. It's a very small flame, and if you send them on their merry way with no way to learn more, then the chances are that this is just going to be consigned to a happy memory. What you want to do is take you out of the equation. You want them to be self-sufficient to learn more. So you need to give them the roadmap for how they can continue learning. I would humbly suggest that you introduce them to our YouTube channel. As you know, there's plenty of videos on there that hopefully they can get into and learn more. Maybe you could introduce them to one of your favorite videos, one that you found particularly fun or informative. Alternatively, or as well as that, you can introduce them to books that you may have found particularly informative. I struggle with this. A lot of people ask me to recommend books, and I've never found the perfect book. I find a lot of them have great value, but are often flawed as well. But maybe you found a book that really, really helped you. So introduce that book to them so that they have a roadmap to continue to learn. If you follow these 6 tips, I promise you, you will start to convert your friends and family to the way of true tea, which means you get to have more tea sessions with more people. And the great thing is that they will start to bring you even more of the good stuff to try. If you've tried these tips and tricks, please let me know your experiences. I would love to hear from you. And if you have other tips and tricks, I'm sure many of you have converted people to the way of tea. So if you've got any tips that you would like to share, please put them in the comments below. I would like to read them, and I'm sure that other viewers could learn a lot from you too. That's it, tea heads. If you made it to the end of this video, then please give the video the thumbs up. Check out our YouTube playlist and let us know if there are any videos that you would like us to make. If you're ever in London, then come visit us in Camden to say hi and taste our wares. If you have any questions or comments, then please fire them over. Other than that, I'm Don May from Mayleaf. Thank you for being a part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from the tea bags, keep drinking the good stuff, and spread the word using these 6 tips, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.